Shalom. How's everyone doing? Today is day 5 of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and we'll be learning Siman Aleph Seif. First of all, I want to say that learning for today is sponsored by Avi Gottlieb in the schos of his amazing chavrusa Yehuda Zadrer and all the Limud HaTorah taking place. Okay, thank you. So let's get right into it. So the Kitzur says, Im efshar lo lahashkim v'lakum b'chatzos halayla lasos az tikun chatzos matov. If a person is able to get up early, he's able to get up at midnight to do something called Tikkun Chatzos, which is a collection of tefillos focusing on the Chorban. That's very good. U'chmosh Ne'emar, as the pasuk says in Eicha, Kumi Roni Valayla, get up and sing at night, L'rosh Ashmuros, at the head of each watch. That's what the pasuk says. U'chmosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mekonin V'Esahi, just like Hashem is crying over the Chorban at that time. Shne'emar, as the pasuk says, Hashem imarom yish'ag, Umimaon kadsho yitin kolo, sha'og yish'ag al avehu. Right, Hashem from his high place he roars, from his holy house he gives his voice, and he's crying, he roars over his house. Va'omer, and he says, Oy labanim, what are my sons? She'abavonosem hacharafti es beisi, due to their averos I destroyed my house, misarafti es heichali, and I burnt my heichal, v'higleisim levein homos, and I exiled them among the nations. If a person's not able to get up at midnight, he should make sure, he should be strong to get up before dawn. Just like David HaMelech said, David HaMelech said, I'll wake up the morning, meaning, I will wake the morning, I won't let the morning wake me up. Even after midnight, you're still able to do these collection of tefillos of Tikkun Chatzos. And after you say Tikkun Chatzos, Yasok Bator, you should learn Torah, ish kefi yachalta. Whatever a person's able to do. V'shir Mishnayos kodem l'chol davar, the Kitzur says that at that hour of the night, it's very proper to learn Mishnayos. V'al yidei zeh zochel neshama, because you'll be zochel to a neshama, for your neshama to go on a higher level, Mishnah Osios Neshama, because Mishnah is the same letters as Neshama. V'emeino bar haki, let's say you're not able to, you don't know Mishnayos, so Yasok bat Tehillim, you should say Tehillim, U'ma'amados, you should say Ma'amados, which is, in this context, it's various psukim, V'sifrei Musar, and books of Musar. V'tov ma'ad b'chavana, it's better to say more. It's better to say less with more kavana, meharbos below kavana, than to say more without kavana. And now we're just going to have other mamari chazal about the importance of learning at night. Tana Rab Chia, kol osik b'torah b'layla, shchina kenegdo, whoever learns Torah at night, shchina is with him, shneamar, kumi roni v'layla, rosh hashmuros, right, get up and sing at night, shivchi chamaim libeich nochach p'nei Hashem, pour out your heart to Hashem, perish, which means, shashchina, he az kenegdecha, somebody who gets up at night to learn, he'll be right next to Hashem. Chazal also says, whoever studies Torah at night is called an Eved of Hashem. All of the servants of Hashem stand in the house of Hashem at night. Look over there in Siman Ayin Aleph. If it's a short night, you're not able to get up so early. At least, you should be strong to get up, but you should be able to have enough time to prepare yourself to go to shul, to go and daven with the tzibur. Okay, this was a jam-packed sif, and let's get into it. So the first thing that the Kitzur is talking about, he talks about this idea of Tikkun Chatzos, to get up at Chatzos, to daven over the Chorban. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, where does this idea come from? So if you look at the Magen Avram in Siman Aleph, Sivkan Daled, he says, "Hamikubalim harichu benyan tfilas chatzos." Right? If you look at the Mikubalim, they really stress this idea of davening at chatzos halayla. But really, the question is, the Magen Avram wants to know: is there anything that we can find in our shas, not from the Mikubalim, that reference this idea of Tikkun Chatzos maybe? So the Magen Avram says, yeah, there is an idea. I'll just speak out the Gemara. There's a Gemara in Maseches Brachos, Daf Gimel. The Gemara over there, it's talking about the Mishmaras Halayla, right? Or in the Mishmar Salayla, Rashi explains is that there were throughout the entire night the Malachim are in Shemaim giving praise and singing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But there are actually three groups that throughout the night there are shifts of Malachim, and it turns out that there are three different shifts, and a different group of Malachim sing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu at each shift. And the Gemara says that at the transition of each shift, Hashem cries over Churban HaMikdash. Like the Kitzur quoted, he says this idea that Oivei, that I put the Jewish people into Galus, I destroy the Beis HaMikdash. If you look at the Rosh says, just like Hashem cries over the Churban at those three times, so too we should, also cry over the Churban during those three times. Therefore, it might be, important to figure out when the three times are. So, like I just said, it was during the transition times. So there are maybe two ways to look at that. Maybe it's the three times that a new group of Malachim started. So that would example be right when night starts. That's when the first shift starts, and then when the second shift starts, and then when the third shift starts. That's one way to look at it. Or maybe no. Maybe it's when each shift ends. So it wouldn't be, maybe Hashem doesn't cry at the way beginning of the night, because that's when the first shift starts. So maybe it was the end of the first shift, the end of the second shift, and the end of the third shift, which would mean that the last time Hashem cries out is like right when the day is starting. So the Gemara has a little machlokas about it. But the Gemara says the first option is, here's what happens. Hashem cries out at the end of the first shift, the middle of the middle shift, and the beginning of the last shift. So, Magen Avram quotes this Gemara, and he says, we see an idea in the Gemara that one of the three times Hashem cries out at night is the middle of the middle shift, which comes out to be Chatzos Halayla. So the Magen Avram says, we do have an idea, maybe, from the Gemara in Brachos, that one of the times Hashem cries out, and we should also cry out, as the Rosh says, is actually Chatzos Halayla. He then says, no, the Gemara gives another option. If you look in the Gemara there, that maybe it wasn't like that. But he says, at least according to that side of the Gemara, there is an idea for davening and chatzos over the Churban. The question really is, how important is this? Getting up at chatzos is a very difficult thing to do. So if you look in the Ishal of Rami Bachach, he clearly says that, that even though that the Mekubalim speak very highly about it, he says, Pashut bevadai shlo Allah leiv me'olam shio pischon peh v'shum ira mamashu kol duhu b'zeh. Right? If somebody doesn't do this, there's no you don't really have to be so worried about it. Because he says this whole thing is, this whole halach of taking chatzos is only somebody who's going to be up anyway. Right? It's only talking about somebody he's sleeping extra because he wants to be satisfied, he's going after delicacies, anugim, veidunim, delicacies of sleeping. V'lo tzarich b'riyos gufo, he says. Right? But if you're sleeping because you have to get enough sleep at night so you're able to function, that's not it's not something somebody has to be worried about. So most people do not do this, but if you want to look on your own, you could look at the Shari Tshuva in Sifkan Vav. He talks all about the inyan of taking chatzos, about what do you do it every night, or about Shabbos Yantif, should you do it with a tzibur? So you could look over there. Okay, next thing he says is the second option is waking up before Alos HaShachar. Right, this is actually another Gemara in Brachos that says David HaMelech would wake up before Alos HaShachar. The Gemara says he would even be up at chatzos. What's the chiddush by Alos? Okay, look at the Gemara. But the Prisha says something very practical. The Prisha says, really, the best thing to do is you're supposed to daven at the sunrise. You're supposed to say Shema before that. So he says, very practically, how are you going to do that if you're not up, by Alos? So that's what the Prisha points out. But once again, if you look at the Pri Megadim here, actually, the Pri Megadim says, even when it comes to waking up before Alos, he says, no, mutav lishon kol hatzorach. Right, if you're going to end up waking up early before alos, and you're going to end up falling asleep during davening, then once again, that's not who the halacha said for. What is the halacha though? The halacha is what he says at the end. The halacha he says in the end that one has to get up so he's able to daven with the tzibur, and that's coming from the Ramah, right? Because actually the Shulchan Aruch, the Mechaber, he quotes this idea of waking up before alos hashachar. But then the Ramah quickly comments, he says, no, al kapanim lo ya'achar zaman hatfilah she'atzibur mispalim, that a person should make sure that he has enough time to get up and he's able to daven with the tzibur. Right? If you look at the Mishnah Berurah says, I think it's in Sif Katan Tes, he says that you really need about, he says that you should have at least like a half hour before the shamish comes around and wakes people up, because you need time to, you get up, you have to get dressed, you have to use the bathroom, you have to do preparations before davening, and that is something that is important. Okay. Kol Tov.